The traditional view of the Wars of the Roses is that of very powerful men fighting each other, really for the throne of England. But the story behind the Wars of the Roses is much more interesting than that. It's a story of women who are not only after power, but also after status. They're competing amongst each other, and they want their child on the throne of England. The key player is Margaret Beaufort, mother of Henry VII. Against her is Elizabeth Woodville, the wife of Edward IV, and she has her daughter, Princess Elizabeth of York. And these three women are the ones who dominate the policy of the war, which wasn't even called the Wars of the Roses, it was called the Cousins' War, because it's a war about families which are run by matriarchal women. It's later historians who called it the War of the Roses, which is a lovely, lovely vision. And it's Shakespeare who gave us this picture of, someone picking the white rose, someone picking the red rose, and war starting like that. That's a fiction, and it really dominates our view of the history. I think the fiction that I would like to dominate our view of the history is of this idea of it being a war between families. In a sense, if you're comparing it to modern drama, you'd be looking at soap operas. You'd be looking at the feuds and the rivalries that we see expressed in the domestic arena now, but that were really playing out on Bosworth Field. These are family squabbles with powerful women that's actually being fought out in blood. Don't think Shakespeare. Don't think these great lords doing great deeds. Think Sopranos, a lot of messy alliances brokered by a lot of people trying to find the best way through. What's driving the men's action is an absolute ambition to be King of England, but also they are bound and limited by a lot of affinities and loyalties that they've created amongst themselves. They have debt that they have to settle. What's different from the women's point of view is, in a sense, they acknowledge no loyalties, they acknowledge no affinities, they are loyal to nothing but their own ambition and their desire to have their own children on the throne. They don't, in a sense, behave responsibly in a political way at all. They behave entirely selfishly and single-mindedly, and that's what makes them so formidable. I suppose in a sentence, the primary motivation for Margaret Beaufort would be her sense that she had the hand of destiny on her life, that God wanted her to be mother of the King of England. For Elizabeth Woodville, initially it's her own personal success, and then once she is Queen of England and her position and her life is threatened by the Wars of the Roses, then it's a question more of survival and of preserving her children and her family's safety in these dangerous times. And for Elizabeth of York, I suppose of all of them, we have to imagine her more than anybody else. I think for her, initially, she's hoping for happiness and for love, and I think she settles for being Queen of England. Everybody's inability to answer why Elizabeth Woodville, then in sanctuary with Richard II as her great enemy, would release her 5 daughters, the only children she knows to be safe, that are in her care. Why would she release them to the man that she must suspect has killed her only 2 sons? Conventional history says she just does. She just does. Nobody ever bothers to say, it can't happen. No woman in the world would do it. You'd be crazy to do it. They are, apart from anything else, even if she doesn't love them, they are her only bargaining power. Why would she let them go to the very man that she must think took her 2 sons and either killed them or imprisoned them? She can't have done it. While Richard II was sleepless at the Battle of Bosworth and Henry Tudor was begging his allies to support him, Elizabeth, Princess of York, had nothing to do but to wait and wonder what her future would be. The man who rides away from the battlefield in triumph will be my husband, and I had better pray that he will be kind to me. I am won by force of arms as much as if I were a title or an estate. I am not a person to these men. I am goods. I am a trophy. If it is Richard, he will restore me to love. He will restore me to myself. He will make me Queen of England where I was a princess, and my son will be king as my father was. But if it is Henry Tudor, then I will marry a man who has no cause to love or trust me, who will marry me on the say-so of his mother, who hates me. I will lie beneath a conqueror to make a Tudor heir. Whichever one of them wins, history will judge them, but history will forget all about me.